Welcome everybody. It's been a while since I did a stream. A lot to talk about. Welcome to everybody. A good evening and a good Cab Fefe to all. I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things tonight. It's been super busy at the David Pakman Show. Not all good, unfortunately, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to first just jump into something that I meant to talk about on today's program and just didn't get to because there was just so much going on. And that's that this travel ban, Donald Trump accidentally called the travel ban a travel ban. And the big thing was, don't call it a travel ban because we're going to pretend that it's not a travel ban. And this really goes to sort of the spirit of this law, or failed law, versus the letter of it. And all along, you've heard the Trump administration defend the majority Muslim country travel ban as not a ban on a ban targeted at Muslims from majority Muslim nations, and they kept pointing to the letter of it. And courts actually said the letter of it isn't all that matters. Courts said, and this is going to be so major now that there are numerous tweets where Donald Trump is calling it a travel ban, courts actually said in deciding that they weren't going to allow the first two iterations of the travel ban, they said the context in which the law is passed, including past statements about the intent of the law, actually are valid in terms of thinking about what it is that the law is going to do. And of course, the entire campaign, we're going to call for a complete and total shutdown on Muslims coming to the US until we can figure out what the hell is going on. Remember that quote, et cetera, et cetera. It matters. And as a result, I can't imagine that these tweets are going to be outside of what courts can consider in terms of future versions of this travel ban. And I don't remember if it was CNN or MSNBC today, someone suggesting, Trump could be playing that four-dimensional chess here, where maybe he's doing this specifically so that the travel ban will not be allowed in the future, so that he can use that to then point to how the establishment is not allowing him to do what it is that he promised. I don't think so. I mean, the travel ban at this point, it was a really specific promise and it's a failure. And the Mexican wall that Mexico was going to pay for, it's a really specific promise and a failure. And he's got to get some successes that he promised. It can't all just be, hey, I couldn't do anything because the liberal establishment and activist judges and Mexican liberals didn't allow me to. I don't think so. I think it's just cluelessness from Donald Trump. And I'm going to go into that story in more detail tomorrow. And so much news has broken even since we did today's show. Let's just get everybody up to speed. If this is your first live stream on YouTube with me, number one, yeah, we're really live right now, unless we're not. And if it's not 6:03 p.m. Eastern U.S. time on June 5th, 2017, then this isn't live, you're watching a replay. But otherwise, it's live. I am here right now talking to you. Number two, Super Chat is on. You can use Super Chat at the bottom of the chat window where that $ is to send questions or comments, which will be read. And some of them are going to be great. Some of them are going to be the best. Some of them may not be that good, but that's okay. We'll read them and answer whatever questions come up via Super Chat. Number three, new members and patrons will get live thank yous and shout outs from me during the entirety of the stream. Membership is at davidpakman.com/membership. Patreon is at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. And unfortunately, and I know I always try to put a positive spin on everything, we are in a situation where we are much more acutely in need of members and patrons than we've been for a long time. I'm going to talk about that later. Number four, obvious trolling and hate will get you banned. Subtle trolling will not. There are moderators in the chat. I also have the ability to ban or block people, and I will use it if necessary because it is free, okay? So bear that in mind. If the trolling is subtle, I probably wouldn't notice it, or the moderators wouldn't, and it probably wouldn't get you banned. So let's dig into some of the news that's going on that is going to be on the program tomorrow. Number one, support for impeaching the President of the United States has now exceeded Donald Trump's approval rating. There is a Newsweek article pointing out that if you compare two different polls, number one, you have the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll, which as of this morning dropped Trump to 36% approval. That's close to his presidency low. The low is 35%, currently 36%. Margin of error plus or minus 3, so effectively he has tied the lowest approval of his presidency. Compare that to 43% of American voters that support starting official impeachment proceedings for Donald Trump. More people in the United States as of today support the impeachment of the president than the number that approve of the job that he is doing. Okay, that is major. That is major, and we're going to be talking about that on the program tomorrow extensively. Newsweek article that you can take a look at. Also tomorrow on the program, and I think that this is an idea that most of my audience is going to like, although it is going to be critical of some of the progressive activism that is currently going on. There is a major level of engagement among progressives right now. Because of the Trump presidency, you are seeing the pie has gotten way bigger in terms of who is engaged and active in the political system right now. And the resistance meme, resisting Donald Trump and the buffoonery of the Trump administration, has been a great way to get people engaged. It's been good for independent progressive media, there's no doubt about it. But it's not enough. And I believe, and there's a New Republic article out by Eric Sasson, which says that the Democratic Party right now needs to stand for progressive policies, not just resisting Donald Trump. And what I'm going to argue tomorrow for you on the program is that there should really be 3 or 4 major overarching policies that Democrats take on if they actually want to catalyze would be the word, the activism that we're seeing right now because of Donald Trump into action, okay? And I do believe that universal health coverage should be part of that. I'm not necessarily talking about single payer, although Medicare for All, HR 676, is something that's out there, and we've talked about it, and I believe it's affordable. If you look at my interviews with UMass economics professor Gerald Friedman, we could afford that. You need to maybe come up with something that could include that, but it could include other options, and this would be something like 100% health care coverage. That needs to be there. I believe that working on the issue of corporate power and the influence of money in politics needs to be there. Anyway, I'm not going to do the entire thing now, but I think that this article in New Republic is spot on, and the opportunity is the engagement around resisting Donald Trump. But just resisting Trump is not going to be a panacea. And the reason for that is I've already outlined why an impeachment of Trump could backfire significantly on the progressive cause. And number 2, I've also pointed out that if the scenario ends up being Trump is not impeached, doesn't resign, but is riddled in scandal for the next 3.5 years, you need to have something that will work to run on in 2020. And just being anti-Trump is not going to be that, okay? So I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. I'm also going to talk tomorrow about Donald Trump's big announcement that people somehow cheered, I don't get why, about privatizing air traffic control, okay? I don't want to, again, do the entire story now, but air traffic control is the agency, the government agency, that manages air traffic in the United States, including making sure planes don't crash into each other. And the entire controversy around air traffic control for years now has been that ATC is very outdated and that something needs to be done to bring them up to speed in terms of technology. Now, Republicans, and I don't even know if it makes sense to include Trump in that, because this guy is not a lifelong Republican. It's not clear that many of the people that are in his inner circle are lifelong Republicans either. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Republicans like to privatize. George W. Bush floated the idea of privatizing Social Security. We've seen a whole bunch of these ideas. The problem with that there's actually numerous problems with the idea of privatization of air traffic control. Number one is that if and when you privatize air traffic control, you are setting up a situation where commercial aviation will be significantly sort of prioritized over general aviation. And although you might say, well, David, most people are traveling in commercial airplanes. It's not general aviation by and large that is driving the world of aviation. And that's true, but the AOPA, which is the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, it's basically a nonprofit political organization that argues in favor of pilots. They are against this. And if you actually read their opposition, it's not just about, oh, we don't want our pilots flying Cessnas to not be paid attention to and to have to pay more because only commercial aviation is being privatized. You're talking about a lot of safety features. When you're talking about IFR flight plans versus VFR flight plans and the costs associated and so many of these other things. Again, I'm going to go into detail tomorrow. There are a number of reasons that are not just about your uncle and his Cessna not wanting to pay more that are significantly against the privatization of ATC. The other issue is that privatizing would likely not solve the issue of delays that airlines like United have very loudly blamed the ATC for. And this is something that has been a really popular sort of scapegoat for major airlines other than Delta. Delta actually came out against privatization of ATC, but a number of airlines are in favor of privatizing air traffic control. They are using ATC as a scapegoat, and you can Google that United has done this extensively. They are saying, hey, the reason why we're so delayed all the time, it's because of air traffic control. And while there's a grain of truth to that, it's not really representative of the non-weather delays that most air traffic passengers experience. So this is just something that doesn't make sense, and this is part of Trump's infrastructure week, which is really just a bogus attempt to distract from scandal after scandal that Trump has been having. So we'll dig into ATC privatization tomorrow. It might seem like a boring topic, but it's actually really relevant because it relates to so many of the issues with the Republican Party platform at large, one of which is privatization of functions that are not really well served by privatization. Trump trying to circumvent that by saying, well, it'll be a nonprofit organization that replaces ATC, but it's still riddled with problems. We're also going to be talking tomorrow about how the Donald Trump administration put out a press release actually referencing or linking an InfoWars article, which is, of course, the propaganda conspiracy website of Alex Jones. We're going to be dealing with that on the show tomorrow. That bizarre NATO speech that President Trump gave in Brussels last week, it appears as though that was not actually some kind of well-crafted and coordinated plan that everybody in the Trump administration was on board with. We've now learned that the Trump National Security Team was completely blindsided by Donald Trump's speech at NATO and all of the absurdities that he said. So we're going to be dealing with that tomorrow and a lot of other important stories. And we'll also be previewing the James Comey testimony, which is scheduled to happen on Thursday. I don't want to talk about that now because I'm going to talk about that more a little bit later. Okay, so let's put a pause on that and deal with some super chats. First and foremost, Floppy Kid has just sent a $10 Canadian super chat. Trump very explicitly and churlishly, maybe childishly, started mentioning Sadiq Khan's name in his tweets. Do you think because it sounds other as opposed to just Mayor of London, which he used in his initial tweets? There is no doubt that Donald Trump is using London Mayor Sadiq Khan's name in his tweets because he wants to reference that Sadiq Khan is Muslim. Absolutely no question about that. And we did a story today about the London attacks and actually Saudi Arabia. And you might be saying, well, hold on a second. The London attacks in Saudi Arabia, what's connected there? There's actually a lot a lot to discuss there, and I did. So I encourage you to watch that. But yeah, there's no accident in Trump using Sadiq Khan's name in his tweets. Robin Luce sent a €5 super chat asking, David, when I see an ad, do I need to watch it till the end? You don't need to do anything you don't want, Robin. But if the question is, do we earn more if you watch the entire ad? I don't have a specific answer to that. My instinct is, yeah, if you watch the entire ad, we're probably earning more than if you don't. But I don't know what the difference is. I genuinely don't know. Frank McWright sent a $20 super chat. Can you talk about Wonder Capital? I'm assuming you've done research about this company, but do you also invest with them? First time investing and asking based on your suggestion. So yeah, we brought on Wonder Capital as a trial advertiser. They did a 1-day run last week, I believe it was, and they're going to do a 1-day run this week. And Wonder Capital allows you to invest in solar energy projects. I don't know that it's that I want to get too much into, like the potential earnings or anything like that related to Wonder Capital here, because you do have to be what's called an accredited investor to invest with Wonder Capital. And even though you can invest as little as $1,000, you do have to meet those requirements of being an accredited investor. And just in the interest of not saying anything that may not be 100% appropriate, given that there are regulations around these types of things, I would encourage you to read about it on their website. It's pretty extensive, and you can take a look at that there, Frank. Okay, so listen, I try to put a positive spin on everything all the time, but unfortunately, there's a pretty negative situation that's impacting the show right now, and it's been more than a month since I've talked about this, and many people may not even know about this. I mean, we're gaining 300 or so, 300 to 400 YouTube subscribers per day, meaning that if you've only been watching for the last month, there's probably about 12,000 people that have no idea about what I'm about to discuss. And we are at a sort of existential crisis for the David Pakman Show. And it all relates to the YouTube advertiser boycott, which the New York Times wrote specifically about how it's influencing our YouTube channel back in mid-April in an article by Amanda Hess called How YouTube's Shifting Algorithms Hurt Independent Media. So listen, I'll give you the real quick summary of what's going on. A couple articles were published in corporate media, one in the Wall Street Journal, basically taking screenshots of racist YouTube videos with ads playing on them, like ads for Coke, okay? The policy of YouTube is if you have overtly offensive, hateful, or racist content, ads shouldn't play there. And by and large, the problem on YouTube is not that algorithm was too relaxed, despite what the Wall Street Journal article would want you to think. It's actually that the algorithm was too strict. We cover stories about terrorism, war, whatever. And even though we're not advocating for violence or showing gory images or whatever, most of those clips, when we do them, get marked as not ad safe, and they don't run any ads. So the problem has been the ad algorithm is too strict. YouTube, after advertisers panicked when they saw those articles and said, we're going to pull our money out of YouTube. YouTube said, we're going to flip a switch on a new ad algorithm that determines when ads play before our videos. And that destroyed our channel overnight. Now, when I say destroyed, I don't mean like, oh, we took a 10% hit. We lost 99 point something percent of our ad revenue overnight, okay? Throughout April, we saw it ebb and flow. It came back a little bit one day, about 15%. Then it was down back to 5%, whatever the case may be. But we were crushed. I mean, YouTube, I've been totally upfront about this, makes up nearly half of our revenue, right? And what we experienced as a result is a question about whether we're going to be able to continue the David Pakman Show. We immediately started pushing membership and Patreon, and we had an initial push of people who recognized the urgency. But I can't talk about Patreon and membership all day, right? We've got a show to do. People are here for the content. So since May 3rd, mum's been the word. I've not mentioned a word about what's going on, sort of hoping that people would keep coming in as new members and patrons and that some of the YouTube ad revenue would come back. Unfortunately, and again, I'm supposed to always put a positive spin on everything that goes on, it's not a positive situation. The urgency has waned, understandably, because I haven't been talking about what's going on. And unfortunately, the revenue has not recovered beyond where it was on May 3rd, which is about a third. We've got about a third of the revenue on YouTube that we used to have. We're getting about 2/3 the ads that we used to get. We used to get ads on 60% of our videos. Now we're getting ads on 40% of our videos. And those ads are paying about half as much because they are significantly lower quality ads. There are fewer advertisers on YouTube. YouTube uses a bidding system, so the more advertisers that want to buy ads, the more those ads pay. Because there are fewer advertisers, they pay less. So 2/3 times 1/2 leaves us with 1/3. Our YouTube channel is earning about a third of what it was before. That's a problem. That's a problem. And my commitment has been not to make changes to the programming of the show. I don't want to have to do that as a result of the fact that provocative material won't be monetized at all. That on average we're making a third of what we were making before. And the way to that is if we continue to get additional viewer support. And there's basically two ways to do that. And I've talked about them before, and I'll mention them real quick here. Number one is membership, okay? And if you go to davidpakman.com/membership, this has been the number one funding source for our show for a very, very long time. And on the second page of the sign up, which you can see here, there is a field which is coupon code. If you look at the normal rates, which I think are quite reasonable, $6 a month, 60 for the year, we produce 25 or so hours of content every single month, plus a members only bonus show. I think the normal rates are reasonable, but that's still a lot of money for many people, $6 a month or 60 for the year. If you want a 40% discount, by all means, if that's what it takes to get you involved, please feel free to use the coupon code you see on screen, which is IVoted17, okay? And along those lines, I want to send a big thank you to Maria Reed, who has signed up today through our membership page. I want to send a big thank you to Janet Mansfield, who just while we've been chatting on the live stream has signed up, as well as to Carla Butler. Thank you to all, and I'll keep doing shout outs and thank yous. The other thing that's available, and this is just super simple, if you don't want to deal with membership and stuff on our website and the bonus show or whatever, and if you just want to pledge $1 or $2, right, and every single $1 or $2 really helps, you can go to patreon.com/davidpakmanshow, and as little as $1 a month makes a difference, and it really does replace a lot of that missing YouTube revenue. And if you can just do $1, and please don't think that because you can only do $1, it's not worth doing it. If only 10%, okay, that not 90%, not half, not a quarter, if 1 out of every 10 YouTube subscribers on our channel committed to just $1 a month, not only do we make up for the lost revenue, we destroy it and we become independent in a completely new way, which would be absolutely fantastic. So along those lines, Lucas has just pledged $2 at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. I'd love to get back up to 1,500 patrons. And, there's been some confusion because people see, David, on the 31st of May, you had 1,540 patrons, and now you're down to 1,486. What happened? The first of the month, so when you make a pledge on Patreon, you're pledging that amount immediately, and then those pledges recur monthly on the first of the month. And inevitably, some people's credit cards expire during the month. And so what happens on the first of the following month is a bunch of people's pledges fail, and we are knocked back down beyond the 1,500 patron mark. So that's where we are, and we need your support. I wish I could say, hey, we've recovered the lost revenue. It's now been April, May. It's been about 9 weeks since the YouTube ad boycott started, and we've recovered about a third of the revenue. But unfortunately, that's just not enough, and we do need your support. Okay, let's get to some of these super chats here. Let's see what we've got. I know that I've missed a couple. Clarth1234 has sent a $5 Australian super chat saying, "How to beat Adpocalypse? Do more amazing long form pieces and interview a bunch of internet ideologues to leech their viewers and Spanish content. Okay, I mean, we're continuing to do the long form pieces. In fact, we have a great long form piece about political correctness coming up a couple weeks from now. We finished the research on it. Narration has been mostly done, and it's going to be a really, really good piece. And anybody who knows where I stand on the issue of political correctness is probably going to find something in the video that they like and something in the video that they dislike. So that's coming up. Interview internet ideologues to leech their viewers. That only works if they have more viewers than we do. And a lot of the people that others want me to debate or create feuds with actually have far lower traffic than we do. And now, without mentioning anyone specifically, here's what I want to tell you. If you really want to compare the size of a YouTube channel to another, don't go to the channel and look at the number of subscribers. Go to socialblade.com, compare the two channels using the tool that they have there, and look at views per month. Because you can have 2 million subscribers, but if people aren't watching your videos, it's not really worth that much, is it? So please, before you start emailing me, by the way, the trolls who say you will never have as big a channel as X, Y, or Z, I then will say, that's interesting. I didn't know their channel was so big. I'll go to Social Blade, and we've got 5, 6, or even 10 times the monthly views as some of these other channels. It's weird. Very, very odd. Okay, GR has sent a $15 super chat. Hey, Pac DZ, take it easy. High in trees, like he progressively, excessively blessed with rationality. Please tell me, DZ, how crooked do you see that Kushner policy from son-in-law to prodigy? Love, GR. I have a really hard time figuring out what on earth GR is talking about. I think he may have had a few too many shots of Cobb Fefe tonight, and maybe is not completely coherent there. But I appreciate the super chat, and feel free to keep them coming. And if there are questions there that I can understand, I will absolutely answer them. Okay. A few other stories that are lower on my list. Whoa, sorry, as I hit my microphone. That might have been loud for you, and I apologize for that. A few other stories on my list that I want to talk about, hopefully tomorrow. Okay, the James Comey testimony. James Comey, fired FBI director, is going to be testifying on Thursday. This is major for a number of reasons. Number one, when's the last time you saw this much anticipation for testimony of this kind from a former FBI director or any type of official? So number one, people are paying attention to what's going on in government, and that's a very, very good thing. We were unsure up until today about whether exerting executive privilege would be used by the White House to block James Comey from testifying. Now, why would the White House be able to use executive privilege to prevent James Comey from testifying? Answer is very simple. James Comey is going to be testifying about conversations that he had with Donald Trump. And as a result, because that's what's going to be discussed, Donald Trump could have used executive privilege to prevent James Comey from testifying. Today we heard from Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a vile human being. And I'm not talking, by the way, I want to be super clear here because people have already started to tell me, David, when you criticize Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it seems like you're criticizing her because of her physical appearance. No, you might be inferring that. I find Sarah Huckabee Sanders and the way in which she is seemingly completely at ease, distorting and lying in a despicable way about just known facts in front of the press corps. I find that to be absolutely vile. And if you think it has to do with her physical appearance, that's more about your impression of her than mine. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked today by the press corps, will executive privilege be asserted in order to prevent Michael Flynn from testifying? And she said no. The White House is not going to do that, and Michael Flynn will testify. I think Trump is not thrilled with the reality that Michael Flynn is going to be testifying. But even for Trump, who doesn't seem to give two shits about optics when it comes to anything related to Russia, I think somebody got to him, rightly so, and said, it would look really bad if you prevent James Comey from testifying. And what I predict is that in the next 48 to 72 hours before the testimony of James Comey, you will start to see big league, I guess I should say in this case, you will see big league attempts on Twitter from Trump to start both preempting the James Comey testimony and maybe some false pseudo scandal, something along the lines of Cobb Fefe, but less funny, to distract from what James Comey is going to say. And then as and after James Comey testifies, there will be a concerted effort to discredit him as a disgruntled former whatever, partisan hack, blah, blah, blah. That's what I think is going to happen. And, you know, I actually have been reading, and I have no idea. You know how it is where there's attempts. I know that this might come as a shock, but sometimes media outlets will attempt to blow up some future testimony when nothing is really going to happen. But I've been starting to see some articles saying Admiral Mike Rogers on Wednesday is going to have some bombshell claims, and I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that, but we may learn more about that. So those are my thoughts on James Comey. I will be watching with bated breath because it is endlessly fascinating what is going on there. Let's get to a couple more super chats here. Victor Savell has sent a $20 super chat. Sign up and be a David Pakman Show member. Also, another good plugin is TubeBuddy on Chrome. It will show all kinds of analytics. All right, well, thank you very much. Getty Germany has sent a €2 super chat saying simply Cobb Fefe. Cobb Fefe, yeah. I'm in talks for Cobb Fefe to be providing the wardrobe for the David Pakman Show going forward. It's kind of a unique and sort of quirky designer, and I think you're really going to like their stuff. It's pretty androgynous clothing, but soon David Pakman Show attire will be brought to you by Cobb Fefe. Frank McWright sent a $20 super chat. No major legislation passed. Looks like the focus is not on jobs at all. Failed travel ban, failed healthcare reform, lots of tweeting and golf. This seems damaging to the Republican Party. What do you predict happening? You know, at this point, by the way, there's a poll about this at davidpakman.com, which is Trump Teflon? Will anything stick to him, or can he golf 23 times in 19 weeks the way we reported on him doing today, and just avoid negative repercussions? I mean, on the one hand, it's not hugely positive for Trump, as evidenced by his approval rating, right? At the beginning of the stream, I pointed out that 36% of Americans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing, and 43% of Americans want the president impeached. It's not good when more people want you impeached than the number that approve of the job you are doing. So on one hand, there are repercussions, but will Republicans be able to sort of figure out a way to navigate what's going on with Trump to avoid it personally hurting them in the 2018 midterms? And the answer is quite possibly. The answer is quite possibly. And I mean, at this point, when you see like a Paul Ryan press conference, he shows up and the guy acts like it's a completely normal situation at the White House, and he talks about really seemingly mundane legislation. And on the one hand, it seems totally out of touch with reality because it's scandal after scandal. But at the same time, it's sort of smart because then Paul Ryan can say, I'm focused on the issues. You know, whatever drama is going on in the White House, I am focused on the issues. And Republicans may well be able to avoid being brought down by the sinking ship of Trump if indeed Trump's ship sinks. Let's go to Monica Molina, who is doing a partial Spanish message, which is a popular thing in Super Chats these days. Saludos de California. Me encanta tu programa, which means greetings from California. Love your show. Hope you get all the independent funding you need. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Monica. And on that note, let me say a few more thank you. So on the Patreon front, and again, we are trying to make up for significant lost revenue from the YouTube adpocalypse ad boycott, and Patreon is one of the ways we are doing that. Luke Wittig has just pledged $2 a month. Thank you. Kirk Ryan has just pledged $25 per month. Thank you so much, Kirk. Very generous. Stephanie Walsh has pledged $2 per month. And Soul Mama has pledged $10 per month. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate that. Every one of those pledges makes up for many lost YouTube dollars in revenue. At davidpakman.com/membership, the coupon code IVoted17 is available, which gives you a 40% discount off of membership. And I want to say big league Cobfeffi style thank yous to Christina McKenna, Delphine Tay, and John Blaskovich, all three of whom signed up while we've just been chatting here during the live stream. Thank you very, very much. And by the way, still on the table, I don't know if people care about this, but a few weeks ago, I put up on Instagram at david.pacman. By the way, follow me on Instagram if you don't, david.pacman. I put up this picture on Instagram, which is just a picture of what happens to my hair if I don't go to great lengths to deal with it, as I like to say, after I shower. I have committed to doing an entire show in our studio with my hair like this, if and when we get to 2,000 Patreon supporters. And again, we started the live stream today with 1,486. We are now beyond that thanks to the just bigly contributions of people while we've been chatting here. And if we get to 2,000, I will do a show with my hair like that. For better or worse, I don't know what will happen. Isaiah Rowe has sent a $30 super chat. Isaiah, who, by the way, I need to sing Isaiah's praises because not only is Isaiah a major super chat contributor during the live streams, Isaiah actually called into the show last week and got on the air, and we chatted with Isaiah, which was great to hear from him. So, and by the way, this week we normally take calls Wednesdays. We're taking calls tomorrow to account for, we're off on the Friday show. Everything's been shifted up by a day. So tomorrow, Tuesday, June 6th at 1:15 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, we'll be taking phone calls at 617-830-4750 if you want to call in. That all being said, let's get to Isaiah's super chat. What do you think of solutions like extreme vetting, travel restrictions, surveillance of mosques and radical imams, prosecution of human smugglers, sanctions on Saudi Arabia, etc. in response to terrorism? Okay, there's a lot here, and it's not all the same. So first of all, extreme vetting. We've been doing extreme vetting. The vetting that we're doing is no different than what was done under President Obama. In order to get asylum or refugee status confirmed, if you're coming from a variety of countries around the world, we're already doing extreme vetting. And it's funny that what Donald Trump is talking about doing is something Obama was doing, even though Obama was doing a terrible job. Travel restrictions. We've talked extensively about ways in which travel restrictions could or could not actually improve the terrorism or potential terrorist situation. Recall that when you looked at the travel ban countries, some of the main sources of terror around the world over the last 20 years were not on that list. And many of the countries that were on the list have not actually exported terror to the United States. And as a result, I think that if you want to talk about travel restrictions, you first need to say, hey, we're going to get outside of the insane, depraved alliance with Saudi Arabia, for example, and we're not going to take countries off the list on principle. That's number one. And then you can have a discussion about whether that type of policy would or wouldn't make sense. Of course, the way that Donald Trump has done it twice is not even constitutional. Surveillance of mosques and radical imams. Okay, so this now starts to get into slightly different considerations. Bulk surveillance, the way that Edward Snowden exposed, we know has not really been effective. James Clapper, you'll remember those hearings during the Obama administration, James Clapper initially sort of making this blanket statement that, we've disrupted dozens of plots as a result of that. However, then when he was asked to provide instances, he said, actually it's not that clear that that program has disrupted that many, read any plots. So if you're going to be doing bulk surveillance, I think that that's a pretty difficult sell. The surveillance of radical imams, I don't think we need to limit it to radical imams. We have systems in place where if there are reasons to suspect that an individual may be radicalized, we have a full system in place, FISA courts, warrants, all sorts of stuff. And that's something that law enforcement has and can continue to do. And it's targeted, and it's when there are specific reasons to suspect that someone may be a catalyst for a radical activity. Prosecution of human smugglers, yeah, those are crimes, and you've got to prosecute that. Sanctions on Saudi Arabia. Before we get to sanctions on Saudi Arabia, we've got to stop selling them hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons. So we're pretty far from that. And by the way, please check out my video today that I did based on the London attacks, which went live about 2 hours ago on our YouTube channel. And that video is about Saudi Arabia, and it's titled London Terror, We Need to Talk About Saudi Arabia. All right, so please check that out. So those are a few thoughts, Isaiah. GR has sent a $15 super chat. PDs, you know how I play shootin' on that C-Fefe. Hearing Pac-Man rhymin' is a great way of passing time, especially about that Trump nasty crappy state of mind. For Reezy DZ, how crooked Kushner be? Kushner be crooked, all right, GR? Kushner be crooked for sure. No doubt about that. 280Z Turbo has sent a $5 super chat saying, Republican Lieutenant Governor Calley is trying to make Michigan a part-time legislature. Would this get regular people involved or become a lobbyist dream? I am less interested in the part-time legislature angle than I am in the term limit angle. And I've talked about that in a couple of different ways. And I think that the term limit angle, there's enough, what would you call them? Typically lawyers and business people who are sort of like the typical people that end up making it into politics. There are enough of them where just putting in term limits is not going to make it so all of a sudden school teachers and scientists are filling the halls of Congress and state legislatures. But it would help. It would help. And I think that part-time, I'm less moved by, but I think that it's interesting. And there are a number of states that have part-time legislatures and legislative sessions that don't run the entire year. By the way, not that our members of Congress in Washington, D.C. are working that much either, right? They've got a lot of vacation as well. GR has sent a $5 super chat. I will sponsor a couple memberships if some folks can't afford them, DZ. Happy to chip in a little more. Pack Slammer, ya bad mama jamma. Love GR. I don't know what kind of substances result in these types of messages, but I am flattered that anybody would want to sponsor memberships. We've got memberships currently that are sponsored. The best thing, GR, would be if you email in. And the way we would do it is, how would we do it? I guess I would announce that we have X number of memberships available as gift memberships. We would come up with some kind of way to give them out. And then once somebody has won or we've assigned those memberships, you could create them under someone else's name and email address and input your payment information, all right? So very generous, GR. Appreciate that. Would absolutely love to do that. On that note, let me say thank you to a few more new David Pakman Show members. Of course, I outlined earlier the major problem that we're having right now with funding for the show as a result of the YouTube advertiser boycott. And as a result, it is quite literally more important than ever that we continue to grow our membership base. And on that note, you can get a 40% discount off of membership by using the coupon code IVoted17. And a few new members, literally just in the last 8 to 10 minutes while we've been talking here, that have signed up. Jason Pritchett. Jason Pritchett has signed up. Thank you, Jason. You're a great American, to quote Sean Hannity. Although, honestly, I don't know if you're American. Doesn't matter. Folks of all nationalities, equally valued as viewers as well as members of the David Pakman Show. Bill Carlson has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Using the coupon code IVoted17, Bill saving himself 40% as a result of using that coupon code. Also, big thank you to Mark Gwynn. Mark Gwynn has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. One of the best member benefits that people like is when you're a member, you get access to the bonus show. Every single day, we've got the public broadcast show, which you see on YouTube, split up into different clips that start publishing usually at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But there is an entire other show. If you are not a member, you don't know about this. It's called the bonus show. Every single day, we do an other show. It is an additional program. This is not the broadcast show. It's an extra show called the bonus show, just for our paid subscribers. It's more casual. We talk about science stories. We talk about more world politics. We talk about all sorts of stuff. People love it. It's absolutely the best, tremendous bonus show of all bonus shows that I've ever seen, that's for sure. And that's a benefit you get at davidpakman.com/membership when you sign up. And if it's all too involved and you don't care about that, you like watching on YouTube, and you just want to send us $1 or $2 a month, you can go to patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. We are working on getting up to 1,500 patrons there. Okay, super chats. They keep coming in. Sonny Torres has sent a $10 super chat. Are the attacks in Europe indicative of the dangers of immigration from primarily Muslim countries, or am I missing something? Okay, well, I mean, so there's no simple answer to that question. There is no doubt that when you have immigration from a country with culture A to a country with culture B, and those cultures can have aspects that are seemingly at odds with each other, you're going to have problems. Now, specifically when it comes to the attacks in Europe, which have been by and large perpetrated by extremist Muslims, there's no doubt that the radicalization is the problem. There's no rule that says, hey, you've got Muslim immigration and you immediately have terror attacks. There's no rule about that. But as I talk about in the video that went live at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time today, when you have a country like Saudi Arabia, which adheres to one of the most extreme versions of Islam, which is this Wahhabist 7th century Islam that leads to the public beheadings and subjugation of women and gays and people who kiss at a beach that you see in Saudi Arabia, when you have them funding mosques in Western countries, yeah, that's part of the problem. That is absolutely part of the problem. There's absolutely no way around it, and that's something that's going to have to be dealt with. Getty Germany has sent a $5 super chat. I'm sorry, €5 super chat. Yo cobfefo, tú cobfefes, él cobfefe, nosotros cobfefemos, ellos cobfefen. So basically, this is like a full conjugation of tu cobfefe as a verb. I hope that was worth €5 for you. Victor Savell has sent a $5 super chat. Have you thought about merchandising as an extra source of revenue? I'd sport a fancy Deep Hizzle shirt. Victor, there are numerous shirts available. And in fact, if you go to davidpakman.com/gear, you will see that there is the original David Pakman Show logo t-shirt. There is the David Pakman Show established in 2005 seal design t-shirt. And there is the Patriot Mail design t-shirt. And when I say t-shirt, there is a men's and women's style t-shirt. But you can also get all three of those designs as zip-up hoodies. And you can also get them as fitted women's style zip-up. So those are available, Victor. No reason to wait. And by the way, if you want a David Pakman Show bumper sticker, those are available at davidpakman.com/gear. If you want David Pakman Show coffee, and not Cobb Fefe, just regular coffee, we have 2 coffee blends available at davidpakman.com/gear. We now have several dozen viewers who are regularly just getting their coffee from us. I mean, like clockwork, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, depending on how much coffee they're drinking. We are getting orders from the same couple dozen people, and it's been a really, really great thing, the coffee. Okay, Ian Camarillo sent a $5 super chat. Will you clear up the misunderstandings with H.A. Goodman live or in a recorded video? I don't think that there are any more. I mean, I don't have anything to clear up. We did a video about the Seth Rich conspiracy theory. It was a 9.5-minute video. About a minute and a half was about some of the different people that were brought on to this RT panel to talk about it. And we talked about H.A. Goodman. He responded by saying that I was lying and untrustworthy and dishonest. The next day, I did a video basically just pointing out where I had gotten my ideas about H.A. Goodman. And while certainly I was speaking off the top of my head in that video, and there was not a literal match between what I said in the initial video and what he specifically said, the gist of everything I said was completely defensible. And since then, I actually have not seen in full anything, but I know he did a whole string of videos attacking me, and there have been other YouTubers attacking me. And you know what? I'm too busy producing a nationally syndicated show with 200 radio and TV stations to even watch the hours of videos that have been generated by that. And I think what I go back to is I'm doing my show. We've done 40 stories since this H.A. Goodman thing. It's not a big part of my life, so to speak. And the fact that, 10 people are making videos about me and I'm just doing my show, I think tells us a lot sort of about the dynamics there. And I'm not finding myself needing to do any more about H.A. Goodman. But clearly, if you want to see videos about H.A. Goodman and about me, what I'm told is that there's tons of them floating around YouTube, although I haven't seen more than 15 seconds of any of them. GR sent a $5 super chat. Fancy planning from the finance savvy Pacman. I like it. I will email you post haste. Love GR, your biggest fan in the history of time, no matter what. All right, thank you very much. Jennifer Carrain has sent a $20 super chat. I like the idea of sponsoring one or two memberships. Speaking of memberships, don't forget to mention that there are subscription levels. I discovered the different levels and was able to increase the amount I paid. Yeah, the base level for membership is $6 a month and $60 for the year. And you can save 40% off of that with the coupon code I voted 17. But there are memberships at the monthly level that go up to $48 a month, and memberships at the yearly paradigm that go up to $480 a year. And I am very proud to say, and flattered, by the way, that we have members at every single membership level. We have people, how flattering is it that we have people who pay $48 a month for our program, month in and month out? They could pay nothing because we'd still be doing the show. The whole point of the show is that it be available to everyone, regardless of ability to pay. We have people who pay $48 a month for our show. You can pay $3.60 a month if you want by selecting the $6 a month plan and using coupon code I voted 17. We have people who pay $480 a year as members for the show. You don't have to do that. You can pay $36 for the year by selecting the $60 a year membership and using the coupon code I voted 17. So yes, thanks Jennifer. If you want to sponsor a couple memberships like GR proposed, by all means just email in. We'll come up with a little contest. We did one a little while back where we limited the free memberships. I think I had three or five donated memberships. We limited it to a high school or college student who was a fan of the show, and all they had to do was put together a short, not really an essay, just like a 2 or 3 paragraph thing about why the David Pakman Show matters to them. We read them, selected winners, and then they were given sponsored memberships by other people. So feel free to email in Jennifer and GR, and we can get that all set up. $2 super chat from GR. Everyone knows it's Pac DZ Victor. I think a response to Victor, who did a super chat where he apparently tried to also institute some new nickname for me. Getty Germany, sticking with the Cobb Fefe theme, a €2 super chat. It was totally Cobb Fefe it. Absa Fefe. I don't know how far we're going to go with this one, guys, but it seems to be going pretty far. And then a $2 British pound super chat from Ha Bitten. Is the Trump administration a tragedy or a farce? It is both. It is both, Ha Bitten, no doubt about it. And Victor Savell with a $2 super chat responding to GR, D-Pizzle for life, yo. So a lot of action, just a lot of action going on there. And I know that the super chats are used as a goof a lot, but they are actually are a great thing because they are a direct way to support the show. And I appreciate everybody who has sent in a super chat. And on that note, I'm going to go make dinner. Thanks to everybody who has signed up for membership. Thanks to everybody who has also signed up at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Please get those dollar contributions in. They do make a difference. They do make a difference. If just 1 out of every 10 of you makes a Patreon contribution, this funding issue will be over instantly. Talk to you tomorrow.